multi-dimensional also works. Now, on the business logic layer, this is how the logic that is used to access the data or to manipulate data. We have the multi-dimensional expression for the data multi-dimensional and data mining option for the Tabular of the analysis services, whereas we have the DAX for Tabular. Now the model, which is on top of, which is pretty much where we put the data into, we have this for the multi-dimensional, likewise the Tabular. So pretty much the right-hand side is talking about more of the Tabular, and the left-hand side is pretty much on multi-dimensional. Now, if you go to the model access, so pretty much what is happening is you have to build reports on top of this. But how does the model get pulled into the reporting layer? That's when we talk about the Live Connect and the import. So it's like the Power BI or the model from which the reporting layer, how does it access data from the model? So you can do a Live Connect, which is like the report itself doesn't store the data. So the raw file itself doesn't have data in it, right? So when you pretty much refresh the report, it runs that queries into the model and then pull it into the report. Meanwhile, the import is pretty much in memory as well, just like how the data is stored in the model. Now this is the storage now in the report itself. So this is being stored within the reporting application itself. So we're going to talk about how we can pretty much deploy the Tabular model, and then the main thing is to see how we can migrate this stuff from the model, which is on-prem, to PowerBI XMLA endpoint, which is in the Power BI service, and create pipelines and equally create some reports out from it. So let's see how it works. So for us to do this, we're going to explore the SQL Server, which is the source of our data. Okay. So if you look at the model, it says we have a data source. So this is the data source layer. So we're going to be using SQL Server, right? That's the source. And how are we going to pull that data? It's coming from the Cotonso database. We have about 10 million records in the fact tables here. So this data has been normalized into views. So basically, we're going to call this 5 views, and the sales is going to be more like the fact tables, and the rest of this is going to serve as the dimension. So now we're going to use Visual Studio. Visual Studio 2019 to build our model. So before I go to Visual Studio 2019, we need to understand what is the version of the server that we have here. If you go here and you look at About Us, you're going to see SQL Server Studio. This is 15 point. Analysis Services 15 point. So this is telling me that I'm running on 2019 server, okay? So the good thing about this is that for you to be able to deploy or migrate from a server, so for you to be able to migrate your model, we have to make sure that we are using the right compatibility level. We'll talk about that when we get here. So the Visual Studio, I'm going to use this as the tool. This is not needed. All right, so the first thing is for me to create a solution, right? So my solution or a project, which the project is going to build a solution in the case of creating it. As I said earlier, we're going to deal with tabular model. Now, just to show you that we have a tabular model as well as multi-dimensional. So this training is not on multi-dimensional, just as you see, as I showed you here. I'm going to focus on the tabular model. Okay. Now, just that you know, the tabular model is the only model that can be deployed to AS, right? We can't deploy the multi-dimensional. So we want to take the tabular model. That's AS and Power BI. We want to take the tabular model. So we want to deal with tabular model only because we'll be deploying to Power BI service. So here I'm going to choose the project. I don't want to use the server because server import from server is in a situation where you have a server created, you have an existing server, and maybe you don't have the solution file or the .bin file, and you want to reverse engineer. Now, in the course of doing this, it means you're pointing to the server and you put a server address, but the caveat for this is it inherits all the compatibility. So once you have an inherited compatibility level, you can't change it. So say, for example, you have the compatibility level of, let's say, 1100 or 1200, and you plan to deploy this model to Power BI, guess what? Once you use the import model, you cannot change the compatibility. So for that reason, you won't be able to push that to 2017, to the 2019, because before you deploy to a higher server, you must change the compatibility level before you deploy to it. So I'll talk about that. So I'll choose this option, then go to next. I will just name this quotations. So here I'm choosing this option, even though it's selected by default, but I prefer this option because I want my solution and project file to remain in the same directory. So I'll create that. Okay, this is what I was talking about, selecting the design, right? So I'm going to choose integrated workspace. The reason why I'm choosing integrated workspace is because it's going to eliminate the aspect of me putting in a server for which I want to deploy my model to. If I use integrated workspace, then when I connect to the server, it's going to, each time I put a solution, it's going to automatically populate that server to which I'll be deploying to. Now, if you choose workspace, then you have to explicitly keep the name of the server. I can choose this and use the server that I have. I prefer to go with the integrated because it already identifies the server to which my analysis service is running on. So looking at that, it says, hey, yes, you can use the server. Okay, I'll go with this for now because I want to be able to show you how this is going to migrate to the higher level eventually. So choose this and then click OK. So this will now build the .bin file, the model file. So the model file is the one that contains that I'm going to be creating all my tables and all whatnot in. Okay. So if you notice here, when I created it brought in, we have a Tabular model tab that populates here, as well as a Solution Explorer. The Tabular model part, it gives me all the objects or the things that could be done in the Tabular model, right? And the Solution Explorer, actually, this is the file that is holding the structure. So I'm building the structure here, but the file is here. It's going to be held here. So when they say, give me your, connect to the bin file, this is what we're referring to. Now, if you look at it, I will go ahead and convert this to code. So you see how it looks like. Basically, nothing has been added to it. This is the basic, okay? As you can see, it's still pointing here 1200 compatibility because that's what we chose. Now, the moment I change the compatibility to a higher compatibility, you will see that this number also will change and things will change. Now, for you to get a better understanding, as I keep adding objects, you will see how it works here. So I'll go back and change it to the design. Okay. So here, what am I supposed to do here? The first thing when you connect to Tabular model is to bring in your data source. So my data source, I'm going to connect my data source. And again, as you know, I'm using the Microsoft SQL Server. I'll click next. And I would call my server here now. My server name is this. Now, but as easy as it is, you can pretty much use localhost because my server, so my SQL Server and my analysis services are running on my local. I can always reference that by putting a dot. If you notice, when I put a dot, what happens? It says localhost. Or I can type a localhost. Or I can actually put in the name of the server. Okay. So either way, it's going to work. All right. So I'll keep this. This is the name of my computer. So I'll just call this connection. All right, so once I do this, since I'm using my video authentication, it will allow me to easily drop down and select the database from which I want to. So test my connections, everything is fine. Okay, next. So when it comes here now, this is very important, right? For me to be able to establish this, I have to make sure that my analysis services in my configuration is either running on my Windows login. If not, I'll have to use the service account that is available. So for me to use the service account, I'm going to give access to the database. I'm going to read access from the database. And likewise, when I'm deploying to the server, I will also make sure that the service account have access to the analysis services server. So let's look at what I'm talking about here. So I'll go to the config file. Okay, let's see what we have here. So I'm going to look for analysis services. Right here, it's running. And what is it running on? Let's look at the properties here. Okay, so my analysis services, it seems like it's running on my credentials, right? So this is my credentials here. So I know my password. So what I'll do here is I'll go to my analysis services here. Let's put in the username and I'll put my password here. So let's see what happens here. Next, okay. So this allows me to, it's asking for what I need. There you go. So I've connected to that database, and these are all the objects that are there. Now, as you notice, I'm going to get the views, right? Looking at this, you can actually, if you don't know how to identify the views, these icons are different right from this. So these are all tables and these are views. So I'm going to be using these individual tables. So I'm going to use the sales, customer, date, product, and the store. Now, if these were related, right, you can select one and then you click on select related tables. Okay. So, but the views don't have relationship. Now, I'll just show you something interesting here. If I were to select, let me say, the table right here, so this, and I select related tables. It's going to select any table that is related. If I click against select related tables, it's going to select the other ones. But since I'm not using the view, the tables, I'm going to use the view. So I'll definitely select this explicitly. Okay. So once I do this, next, I just have to finish. Now, you have options to preview and filter and do some other stuff here, but I want to pull everything as is. Okay, just to show you how that works, if I were to filter out anything, I'll click preview and filter and customer, and it will allow me to select the columns that I want and the ones I don't. So if I uncheck something here, it means I don't want this, right? But I want pretty much everything, so I'll just keep it here. So click on finish. So when I click on finish, it's bringing these tables into the model. It's loading, it's caching this data into the model. Okay. So as I said, this is pretty heavy in terms of records, right? So let's just give some time while this loads through. So what we're going to do is, once we have this, we would explicitly create a relationship for these tables for it to relate, because it's going to be tough for us to build a model and write that expressions when it's not related. Okay. So one thing that I will have to do, I won't really embark so much on DAX, but I'll create some basic DAX expressions so that we can be able to use those DAX, the measures, to do reporting. Because the interesting thing is, if you don't create a measure in your tabular model and you want to use the model in Excel, Excel is not going to recognize any field that is not a model as a value, even if you specify the data type to be integer or float. Now in Power BI it's different. So you have to take note of that. So it's very necessary, even though you see a column that tells you, oh, this is unit, this is quality. Yes, but you still have to create a measure for that so that you can use it in Excel. This is about 10 million records, so it's pretty much going to take some time, right? But let's see how we can go around it. Now, while this is going on, let's explore these views and see if we're to create joins or keys, how do I call it? Relationship. We're going to be creating a product key. It will connect to the product table. Store key will connect to store. Customer connect to store. Then on the date, we're going to have an active relationship on the order date, but we're going to have an inactive relationship in the delivery date. Now, in DAX, normally you can't really create two relationships from the same table to the same table. Two columns from one table cannot tie to the same table. So what do I mean? If you go to the date key column, you see that we have a date, right? This date cannot join to the sales table on the order date, and the same date joins to this. One has to be active and one is inactive. So we're going to keep the active on the order date, but we'll keep this will be inactive. The delivery date will be inactive. However, in that expression, we have a function called use relationship. So when you create an inactive relationship, you can actually force a DAX expression to be calculated based on that inactive relationship by using use relationship as part of your DAX expression. I don't think we'll get into that today, but that's something you should keep in mind, that you don't need to create multiple tables of your table of the date so that one will join to this and the other one will join to this. Use the same table, but now you use your use relationship in your DAX expression. So let's come back to our Visual Studio and see what the guy is doing. Sales is still halfway gone. So it's quite interesting. Should have loaded this right before the video. So anyways, so once this is completed, we are definitely going to see all these objects. It's going to show up here, right, as tab, just like in Excel. And we can also look at the relationship. But while this is going on, since we can see this part of it, we can talk about it a little bit. So the data source, once this is completed, the data source is going to populate here. You can actually see the name which you call Cotonso is going to be showing here. And each time you want to add a new object, you just have to edit or import new tables. It's going to be an option in that data source that's created. Then you can add a new column a new view, either way, or table. Then when you create any KPI, key performance indicator, it's going to be in all these folders. If you create a measure, it's going to fall under here. Then if you create a perspective, same relationships are going to be here, rows, tables, translations. So these are pretty much different things that could be done in the tabular model. But for the purpose of this training, what I really want us to cover is to see how we can migrate from on-prem to cloud. Because that's definitely, most companies are moving now to the Azure AAS as well as Power BI. Because the thing is, you start wondering, like, what is the essence if you have a Power BI premium capacity that is capable of hosting your endpoint? Then you should rather use the Power BI, right? And stop using the on-prem. You can, discontinue that. So that's pretty much what we are looking at. And besides, when you have your stuff in the cloud, it makes it easier, especially if your data source also is in Azure. But this is our case. You'll notice that our database is still going to be on-prem, that will deploy to the Power BI, which is in the cloud. Now, you start asking yourself, but how does that work? Gateway. That's when you start thinking of, oh, I need to create a gateway. Yes, you definitely have to create a gateway in order for you to refresh your model, which is in the cloud. If the gateway is down, your model cannot refresh. Okay, so we'll cover that as well. Now, this is taking a little bit longer than I thought, but I'm going to pause the video just to make sure it doesn't get long while we're here, and just come back later. Well, let's see. You know what? I don't want to risk pausing this video, and let's see what happens then. Okay, instead of doing that, let's explore how these views were created. This is also helpful, right? So if you notice, in this database, they had tables that were created. And the tables, pretty much, if I look at the relationship diagram, let's explore this a little bit. I think I had it open somewhere. So if you look at the ERD diagram for this database, okay. Let's see, maybe we'll explore a little bit about compatibility level, okay. So this is what I was explaining earlier, right? So we have, if you choose 1100, yes, you can deploy to all of this. You choose 1103, you choose this. So let's assume that the server that you have is 2012. Then, in the course of creating your model, you choose compatibility level 1200. And he only says that, well, you can deploy this to an Azure AS 2019 server, 2017, or 2016. Say if you go ahead and build all your model without taking note of this and you decide to deploy it, then you realize that, oh, I still have a 2012 or 2014. Guess what? You have to redo everything. There's no way you can. It's not backward compatible, so you can't even change it and bring it back to this now. However, if you started with this, and in the course of deployment, you realize that, oh, you have 2016, you can change it and deploy to this. You can change it to 1200 and deploy to 2016. But you have to make sure that you actually have 2016 running. All right, so this failed apparently. So, oh boy, okay, we have so much data inside here. And I guess that's what is causing this. So if you look at it, it says there is insufficient system memory. All right. Did I just, well, please, unfortunately, oh my goodness. Recap, that was maxed. So, yep. Again, it's on-prem, running about 10 million records. See. So what I'm going to do right now is, in this view, I'm not sure exactly, but I'm going to change. Let me see. Let's go to the view. Okay, this is the view. I want to make it life easy for us, and this particular sales view. I'll alter this view. Okay, and reduce the volume of data. And how would I do that? I can do select tab 2 million. Okay, because I thought I was able to load up to 5 million. So I'm just going to put 2 million records. Alter this. And then let's try this one more time. If I try that, let me see how my memory looks like. Hopefully it doesn't fail this time around. Let's try it again one more time. I guess this is a good experience. So we were not able to import, but because of the sales that was too much. This other one went through successfully, right? So what I'm going to do is on the sales, since the sales failed, I'm going to load. You know what? This even gives me a good idea. Let's see something. I'm thinking of something which is definitely helpful, but let me see the max date in this view, okay? So I'm going to create a second view, and that's going to be for partitioning, okay? So select this thing. Now the funniest thing is we are doing something way out of order, right? I wasn't planning to do this, but I'm forced to do it because of what we've seen in the model. So I want to get a distinct of this from the DBO that says, okay, isn't it a dot? Okay, and PowerBI, this one, this column is gonna be okay. I would have done the same right this time, so it gives me a letter first. I'm trying to see if I were to apply partition, what do I do? Okay, we have up to 2020 record, okay. So how about I partition my records to only display 2019. So I'll use this opportunity to show you something, okay? So here, I'll pass a where clause where this date that data dot date about this where the year of data schema dot date in 2019 2020. Okay, so this I'm going to call it. I'm sure this is right. Let me see. This schema data. Okay, schema also wants to. I think data is a keyword. I guess that's why we are. You should have a column there. Let's try this. I don't know why it's giving squiggly line, but let's try. Okay, it says there wasn't like a minus. Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what? Let's do this. Data updates. I don't know what's gonna happen, but this is what I expect. It's interesting. So it's multiplied. Oh, shoot. Okay. My bad. So I'm gonna go with other date. So there's no. I thought I was a join here on the date. That's fine. So I'll go with the other date. So the error message is talking about multi-part, meaning I'm calling a table that's no reference above. So I'm going to replace all of this. Sorry about that. This. Okay, this should work now. So I'm going to filter this, right? I'll take this out and see the number of records. So I want to create multiple partitions, okay? So I'll use this. Then I'll call this sales underscore 2017, 2018. So in that case, I'll change my logic here. 2017, 2018 is going to be one partition. And of course, since I'm going to creating this system, let's see. Okay, I'm going to change this now. 2016. Oh no, 2015. 2016. Let me see how many records are there. There you go, 1.9 million records. Okay. So there's 1.9 million. So 2015, 2016. 2015, 2016. Create this. Yeah, I don't know if it's 2013. How about I just put history? So the history is going to be anything below 20. I'll say my data. This should be less than 2015. So anything below 2015 is going to fall in my history. All right. So what I'll do for this case, I'm just going to pull this first. I'm going to pull just the sales, right? The sales for the regular sales is the current sales, okay? So I'll go here, then I'm going to import a new table. Then next, then when you come here, you're going to see sales, all these ones are created. So this is what I want, okay? Again, I'll just pull this. So we're expecting 1.9 million, about 2 million records. Okay. Bingo. All right. Okay, so I now have everything that I need here, right? So one thing I need to do is to just make sure I create a relationship right among this model. So I'll go here, and traditionally I can just drag and drop, or I'll create it using these other options here. What do I mean by drag and drop? This is going to be my fact table, and I'll put my dimensions around. Whenever you have star schema, this is what we're pretty much referring to. The fact table surrounded by this. So the first thing is my store is going to join with store. So it's going to be a one-to-many relationship from store to this. So if you click on it, you're going to see that relationship, right? So it's sales to store, one-to-many, and this is active. So if I do the same for product, so the system detects, right, irrespective of the direction, it just tells you, okay, it's one-to-many, you know. Then you go to customer. Alright, so now we'll go to date. What I was telling you is we're going to do the other date. This is going to be active relationship. But I want to create another one for this. Now this is going to be inactive. You see the gray line. So you cannot change this to active relationship because there is already one that exists. So see, an active relationship already exists between the sales and date. Deactivate or delete existing relationship and create this one. I don't want to do it. So this relationship is based on the order date. So whatever measure I'm creating is order date. If I want to create, for example, sales based on delivery date, I am going to use this table as the relationship. So I'm going to implicitly use relationship on this column. So in that way, my sales amount is going to be based on the delivery date. So you can have two sales. Sales on the order date and sales on the delivery date. The regular sales, if I have to create a measure and just do sum of the sales, right, it's going to give me that value for the sales. But if I have to do the other one, I have to use relationship. Let's see that anyway. So I'll go ahead and save this before it crashes on me. So save this, and some little housekeeping. I know the idea is when you do your relationship like this, there are things that you don't have to expose. For example, all the keys column, right? There are things that you need to hide from your model because the business doesn't want to see the keys, because what is product key? Business doesn't know. But if you ask the business, what is the product ID or product code? They'll probably know about that. But the keys, they don't know, so hide it. Just hide the things that do not need to be seen. Now, somebody might ask why to bring it in, because I want to create a relationship, right? So if you didn't bring it in, you won't be able to create a relationship. So I'll go ahead and hide these other columns here because technically they are considered as the foreign keys in this table. All right, so let's hide everything that is considered as a key here. Okay, so good. Now, some of the things that you probably want to do also is, make sure that you have your data type adjusted and everything. Then some things that we want to do is pretty much creating like folder structures and stuff like that. If time permits us, we might do that. So let me go now to the table view so we can look at what we have. So everything is hidden, right? So what I was saying is when you see something like this, you have to explicitly create a measure for this, right? So I'm going to do a sum of the units. So when I do sum of units, Probably want to give it a better name, right? So this is where I would do that. As a name, measure name, right? So I want to get, let me say, I can't call it unit price because it's already existing here. So I might call it units, whatever. Let me see. I'll call it price, okay? Then for this, then of course make sure that you maintain the. You might want to, if you see here, it choose this dollar, which I don't have an issue with that. You want to change the data type and stuff like that if you want to. Now the cool thing is in the folder structure, I want to create a folder called sales, right? I'll call it sales. That I'll create two folders, for example, unit. So this is going to go under for sales that amount, list and amount folder. Then I'm going to create another sales that unit when I get to the quantity. Okay. So this I will also do a sum, and my sum here, I want to make sure that I call it something nice also, like quantity sold, whatever. Maybe put a space there because it's how the report is going to look like. So you have to make sure that then here I want to make it look pretty, right? So I can use whole numbers. Then I want to separate, use the 1000 separator too, right? Perfect. Then this, I'm going to put it under a different sales, see under sales folder, but unit sub folder, okay? Then this is going to be similar to the sum. Same thing here. I'll call this sales price. I'll call this net sales price. I think this can be a sales price, right? Instead of sales price. I'll just call the unit sales price. How about that? Okay. Then this is going to be the cost price. I just call it cost, right? So here I want to put it under, call this cost. And also baptize it with its own folder structure. So it's like cost. That's cost. Okay. All right. So we have this. Then ideally, I want to create something like a margin too, right? So this one I get into that expression. So this is gonna be, I can type it here. Margin. So how do I get my margin? Is equal to sales price minus cost, but this is my sales and the cost. So I already got my net sales price minus cost. Okay. Same thing applies here. I want to put this under sales amount. You know what? I put this under cost, but I'll probably want to just put it under amount. Okay, so go back to my margin. Maybe give it better than that. Sales margin. Then it's also going to be, since everything is in currency, let me put currency to here. If then this is refusing to separate this. So the only way I can change this is probably going to whole number, then separator. Okay, let's try this back. Go back to currency. All right, it won't let me do that. All right, that's fine. So I need that separator. Sure. So I'm just gonna change this to, okay. Now for consistency, again, because that didn't let me change that, I'll change it back to whole number. Keep everything without currency, but we know we're dealing with currency. Now the interesting thing is, me choosing the currency was even misleading to an extent, because what happens is we have some numbers here that are in US dollars, Canadian. So that would be not fair for me to convert it into US dollars. So I'm going to keep this as whole numbers, right? And everything is consistent now. All right. So one thing I was saying that if I want to know the sales, so this sales is based on what the relationship that was established on order date. So this is a sales based on order. If I choose to get a sales based on, let me say, the unit sales based on the delivery date, is going to be, I'll call it delivery unit sales. Okay. So it's going to be, I'm going to write that expression here. Calculate as the bandit. What am I calculating? I'm going to calculate the sum of units. Well, it's coming from the unit price. Okay. And now it's a use relationship. Okay. What am I using a relationship? I'm using a relationship for on the date table, and what am I using the relationship on? I'm using now on the delivery date, right? So it's basically saying that, okay, hey, this your sales is going to be based on delivery date. Now, if you look at it right now, you don't see any difference, right? But by the time you start sliding with the date, then you see what happens with the values. Okay, so this reduced relationship is the key here. So I'm saying my relationship should be between this and this. Now the orders of this doesn't really matter. It's just saying that my relationship with sales date and sales delivery date. So this is the same expression that you would use for net delivery sales, right? And the reason why this is happening is because we've created that inactive relationship. Okay, so this one should be net price sales. Let's say net price, right? Okay, that's it. Then I'll call this delivery net price. Okay, then do the same for the cost. Now, the interesting thing is I wasn't planning to do this, but I see it's kind of essential. So current shows. Okay. So try this through. Okay, let's another list. Using the cost here too. And unit cost for sales cost, right? Unit cost. There you go. Delivery cost. Well, I'll call it delivery unit cost. The reason why I'm gonna call it delivery unit cost is because if I say delivery cost is more like an expenditure, right? That I intend to call it deliveries. It's sales based on delivery, pretty much. Okay, so let's get that clear. Sales based on delivery. So I'll just put delivery details. That makes it easy. Delivery details. How about that? All right, that makes sense. Delivery date, sales cost. Wow. Okay. Why this? I should call it sales cost then instead of calling it cost, right? Sales cost. Okay. So same thing. What the sales margin? Oh, I changed the name. So guess what? It's failing here. It's supposed to be sales cost. So there you go. So how about I can get the margin as well, right? So delivery sales margin. You have to put this column, otherwise it will fail. So it's the same as the net. Says delivery sales price, net price minus delivery sales cost. Yeah, so this I remember to number 2. Okay, then again for the structure, right? So what I can do here is I'm going to create my sales. I want to get a subfolder for delivery, and then, or maybe, yep, yeah. So sales, I want to get the subfolder for delivery, and the delivery, I'm going to have the amount. That's on the amount. Yep. So copy this folder structure. This also is under that same amount. This also is under sales amount. This is going to be under unit. Okay. All right. So save this one more time. So ideally, I've created, a couple of measures, right? And so with this, I can create. I've created measures, and from the measures, I create additional, right? Like the margin percentage, right? So can we just do that? Sure. So for me to get the margin percentage, so sales margin percentage is going to be sales margin, for this percent is equal to, so I'm going to use this divide. I like this because it's going to give me just the numerator and the denominator. So what do I want to be on the numerator? It's going to be the sales. The sales margin. Okay. And what's the expression to get a margin, right? It's based on your cost. So my margin on my denominator is the sales cost. Okay. So this alternative is going to be somehow like a 0. So how does this work? Is in a case where if you choose to, did I close it already? No. So it handles divide by 0 error, right? So for example, if the cost is 0 and then we're dividing something by 0, guess what? You get an error, but this probably will take care of that because it defaults it to 0. That's why it says alternative result. So if it doesn't exist, then what do I get? So I'll use this same expression to get, and this actually, I need to put it as a percentage. Okay. So I'll go here now and change the data type. Instead of that, I can put it as percent. Okay. So I'll go here, I'll create a similar measure. It's going to be based on sales delivery. Oh, that delivery sales margin? Yep. Delivery sales margin percent. So I'll change everything to delivery sales margin, divided by delivery sales cost. Okay. So this also earns on percentage. Okay. So if I were to create a folder structure for this one, it's going to be sales, another amount, but I'll put it on percent folder. And this is going to be sales, delivery, percent folder. Okay. Now that I have this, let me just do a quick test by analyzing in Excel. Let's see what happens. So let's see what we have in Excel. All right, so if you look at the folder structures, right, you see that it's nice and clean. Now, when you have the sales, and I did net sales price, I didn't put it under a folder. That's why it's hanging in here. So I'm going to put it back under this folder and then refresh this report and you see the difference. So again, what am I going to do now? I want to get this value. So if you look here, there was a sales something hanging here. I want to put it under the folder. Right? Remember sales, net sales price. So if I go here, I'm looking for my net sales price. Net sales price. This one doesn't have a folder structure. And I say it's going to be under sales price amount. So once this is done, save, go to Excel. All I need to do is under the data. I used to have my refresh here. Okay, so let's click on refresh. So this is just going to skip. Remember something was here, right? It's hidden. So if I go to amount, I'm going to see everything that is supposed to be there. All right. For simple analysis, if I go with net sales amount, it goes here. And if I choose the date, what's my date dimension? I can always collapse everything. This is the date right here. Okay. About 2 month, year month. About that. Okay. Year month. Okay. Okay, let's see what happens now with the delivery date, right? Remember we're doing some other stuff with delivery. Delivery, or we have delivery sales net. Let's see what happens here. Bingo. So you can see some kind of difference here, right? So basically, saying in August 2014, based on the order date, this is what was sold. But based on the delivery date, so on this month, we had a total sales as the order date month. About that, we sold this, but in that month, we actually delivered it. So the reason why we are getting this number different is to tell us that what was delivered is different from what was sold. We sold more, but we delivered less for that period. Okay, so this I just wanted to explain it so you kind of understand how to get that use relationship works. Okay, so cool. Let's see where we are. So because I'm trying to make this video not too long, I'm already on I don't know how long this has been running, but I think it's probably over an hour right now. So I'm going to deploy this. I think where is this? So how do I deploy? I'm going to first of all save this, right? In deployment, that's when you hit now to this section, the Solution Explorer. You have to configure your deployment server. So you go to Property and make sure that you have everything set up right here. So I said I want to deploy to my local host, and this is the name of my database. This is the database name in the analysis services. Now, in my database management studio, it is called Kotoso 10M. So I can change its name. I can change anything that is here. All right. So this processing is just a default. It means it's going to do right now when I push this, it's going to push the metadata as well as the cube, right? But if I choose other options like do not process, it means it's just going to push the metadata and it won't push the entire model data itself. So let's keep it the way it is and then deploy now. You take note of this, okay? Local host, again, because I have my local server, I prefer to go with this. So where is that button here? Let's see what happens when I click on this. Okay, means I'm good with that. Then the next thing is, guess what? I'm going to deploy my model to analysis services. Now, one thing I want you to understand is I'll connect to that my local host analysis services. Okay. Now when you look at it, I have just one database and pretty much this one is very empty. So we are going to refresh this after we deploy so you can see what is happening. So let's go to Visual Studio and deploy. I'm deploying this. Okay, see what's happening. The server you are deploying to supports a newer compatibility level than the current tabular model. You can upgrade the model to the newer compatibility level in the model properties. If your solution contains multiple projects, you must upgrade each model. Do you want to continue without upgrading? Yes, but I'm going to show you what they're talking about, like if I want to upgrade it. So basically, they say in my model properties, right, I can upgrade it. So what does that mean? It means my compatibility level. So if I click here, you see, is this right? Is it again? Okay, where is that? Compatibility level somewhere. Am I clicking at the right thing? Okay, let's click on this. Model. Okay, where am I again? Let's see. Solution explorer. Okay, compatibility. There you go. Compatibility. Right? This is what it's saying here. I can upgrade to any of this. So click on the model, then you go here and then you upgrade. I'm not gonna. Okay, good point. Downgrading a model compatibility level is not supported. Okay, because I erroneously clicked on this one, and that's when we got the error message. So imagine that all what we've done. Imagine one more time that all what we've done actually is not. It has to be redone because we chose the wrong compatibility. So anyway, but let's go ahead and deploy this solution now. Deploy. Do you want to continue without upgrading? Yes. So it has deployed the metadata. So at this point, only the tables, relationship, everything deployed. Now it's pushing the data across. Okay. So now it's pushing the record into this server here. So just by refreshing, you will notice that we have another database here called Cotonso. Okay, but not all. So all the tables are here, but the data is not yet inside for all. So as it keeps loading, it gets populating. So when this will load into this table, I'll write a simple expression for you to see the content. All right, so pretty much we are done. So now we have everything here. How about we take a look at the content? Cotonso. So I'm going to write a basic expression. So now I'm going to use my DAX language to query some content. Okay, I want to do top 10 for table. Evaluate. So I will do a select statement in top, and then I call the table as a customer, right? Customer. I'm just doing a top 10. It gives me that information. Okay, so how about I do something like evaluate summarize. So I want to get pretty much let's say assume that I want to get a sales by date, for example. Okay, so I'm going to put in the date, and my date is going to be which color I want to call for my date. Let me say the year, month. And let me go with the quarter, right? Year, We have year, quarter, yep. Then I want a measure. My measure is going to be the sales. So give it a name, net sales. You have to do this, by the way. Then call now that measure, net sales price. Yep. I call margin, sales margin, whatever. Yep. All right. So when you do this, guess what? You're getting the sales by this. Any quarter that don't have sales, it means we didn't have any of them, right? Now I'm suspecting that this particular column, did I put a comma in it? How about I try something else to prove if I did put a comma? Hope you guys still with me. Sales cost, how about that? Okay, run that. All right, so it seems like here it's not gonna show that, but inside the Excel it's going to show. Okay, so basically I'm writing a DAX expression in Management Studio to see what I've loaded into the model. Okay, so good. Guess what? If I were to show you updates from here, I have done the tabular model. I've deployed to on-prem. Now let me go ahead and migrate this to the XMLA. So going back to our compatibility story, if I have to deploy to PowerBI Endpoint, guess what? It has to be a premium, and I have to upgrade my compatibility to this. So let's go now to PowerBI. And we need to create a workspace. So I have the PP. Very interesting. It's $20 a month, premium per user. Very economical. Okay. So please, if you want to explore a Power BI Workspaces, you feel free to do that. So I am going to create a new workspace, and that workspace is going to be called Protoso Dev. So I'm going to call it Protoso Dev because, as I said, I'm trying to make sure that we have a pipeline so I can deploy from one environment to another, all the stuff of cool stuff. So save this. So I now have a workspace. Okay, this is the workspace. Then I'll go to the settings for the workspace. Under premium is going to populate premium per user. Then guess what? This is my server here. I'm going to copy it. So now I want to deploy to this server. Okay. So when I go to my compatibility, when I go here, what I'm going to do is I want you guys to remember that if I deploy this to the higher compatibility level, I can bring it lower. Okay. But the good thing is I have a 2019 server. So I want to push it to my Power BI. So I can also deploy it to my on-prem server, but it's going to be 2019. Remember that when I was deploying this, it prompted me to upgrade and I refused. So guess what I'm going to do now? I'll go here, change where's the property? Did I forget property? Windows hiding here. So it says I should go to my where was that again? Here, maybe it's a model property, right? Is there any model property? I don't see it. Come on, guys. There you go. So I'm going to upgrade this now to the highest compatibility level, which is that acceptable by 2015. There you go. So changing the compatibility level requires the project be closed and reopened. Any unsafe changes will be automatically saved. Change the compatibility level cannot be undone. Are you sure? Oh my goodness, am I sure? Yes, I'm sure. So, bam. That is gone and it's going to reopen. Now it is a new life. Completely new life. Okay. If you notice, the moment I changed that compatibility level, something happened. Calculated groups came in. expression. We didn't have all of this, right? But now, because I've changed it, they have brought in all this. Now, imagine that you build it in this model and you want to go back to the previous. It wasn't calculated group, so you messed up everything. So at this point, I'm going to deploy this now to a server. Before I go there, I have to change this, and then I'll change. My bad. I'm going deployment server. So I'm no more deploying here. Where am I deploying to? And you see that I'm deploying to the Power BI endpoint. Okay, and I want to maintain. I probably want to, just for consistency, I want to keep this, but whatever name I change, right? So it's going to be the database. We're going to call it what? The data set. Okay. So I'll call this contours to Tabular, just to make it a difference. Then, okay. Then now, guess what? Deploy. This is the good part of the whole show. Now see what's happening. Bam! You have to open Power BI. Okay. So now everything now is in Power BI. It's going out to the cloud. It is no longer on this local computer, but rather it's going to where the cloud. And once it goes to the cloud, I will show you how to access that from the cloud as well. Now, the interesting thing that we're going to face here is this. So this is requesting, hey, you are supposed to pull this from the database, which is on-prem. We don't have access to it. Can you give us access? All right. So did I make error in it? Deployed it successfully. Okay. Good, gracious. There you go. See what is happening. Fail to save model or has connect no credential. Okay, I know, I got it. So do you know what's happening? It's saying that we don't have connection. This server is trying to talk to the on-prem, but we don't have connection. So let's see what's happening. I've deployed it already. The schema has gone, but the data is not, because you saw that it's a metadata deployed. How do I know that? Let's get here. I'm going to connect to my Power BI endpoint. You see analysis services? I'll paste that endpoint here. And guess what? I'm going to authenticate using this. And this will request me to put in the password so that I can access my Power BI. Okay. Now I'm putting access to Power BI. Okay. So I'm pulling this to my server, to the management studio. I'm connecting my model. By the way, let's look at Power BI where that's residing. So if I go here now and then I look at my workspaces, you're going to see Kotonso. This is it here, the model is loading, right? So I'll show you something interesting. Here, if I go to this, I see that there's the Kotonso database and I see that there are tables. Let's try the same thing that I did. I'm going to connect to the server. That's oh my goodness. What is it saying? All this long story is just to tell you that you don't have connections. And why? My model is in Power BI server, and my database is on-prem. Do they communicate? No. How can I make these two things communicate? By the use of a gateway. So the first thing I need to do now is to go to my server, and then I'm going to configure this data set so that it can talk to my gateway. Now, I've already created a gateway before. All I'm doing is go to that gateway and just say, please can Kotoso talk to you guys? So where's that gateway? Gateway. So many gateways, right? This is the one that I created here. Oh man. I'm going to create the source first. 1 second. You can't be creating a gateway when you have not created data source. Is that right? Yep. So let's go there and the settings. Let's see, where is that again? Or maybe I create a gateway, then I connect to data set. There. All right. Now I see I have to make sure that my gateway is awake. Okay. And my gateway should be awake. So yes, I have to add this to Proton, so this to my gateway. There you go. Add it. Now, if my gateway is not working, I'm just gonna check that. I have it on this computer, so I'm gonna call the data source control DB. What is that control? It's from SQL Server, yes. Add the database name, all this sweet stuff, and all whatnot, yep. Okay. I want to just go to my window authentication. And my window authentication, permit me, let me put it on my okay. I'm not going to skip the test anyways. Add this. Alright. Seems like it worked. Then go to your oops, did it work? Okay. It's cooking. It's thinking. Okay. There you go. Kotonso. You are now connected. Right. So that's it. Okay. What is it saying? Please update your credentials. Oh man. It says my credential is not correct. Server this, Windows Docking. Let me see. It's not right. Okay, let's see something here. Okay, authentication mode, basics. I'll use the basic and see because so but the issue what we're facing here is because this is not connected. So once this gets connected, we should be able to get out of this stuff easily. Okay, so but it's very important that you understand the steps. So what I did first is in Visual Studio, I had to change the compatibility level, and then I changed the deployment server. Okay. So this is being pushed to the server. We're trying to create this connection between the on-prem database and the cloud so that we can easily refresh. Because if you look at the error message here, it says that the model cannot be refreshed because it doesn't have access to the database. Right? The creation is wrong. So it's trying to call that database, and it's like, what? That's not it. And this is, I'm using video authentication. Pretty much. So now what is happening is we can, why this is going on, right? Let's see. Because it's the part of what I'm supposed to cover. So now remember this one was pushed from the server, right? I deployed from the server. Now how about if I just had the Excel sheet and I want to call this directly? So what would I be doing here? I have my version that is deployed to the on-prem, and I have a version now that is deployed to cloud, right? So while this is syncing, let's see how we get to the Excel piece. So if I go to Excel and I want to connect to that database, I'm going to connect from here. It's analysis services, and the server is what? The host, and it's using the authentication. So here we have two modules, console and the prices. I'm going with console, and all this is just to give some friendly names around. Right. Controls to on-prem. About that image. So this is the same. We got a PowerBI report here. Okay. I'm going to analyze age by sales amount or units quantity sold by age. Okay, then I want to add a date just to know what date and what the age is. You know what? Can we do something interesting here? I put country and take out the age. Quantity stores for the different countries. And what else? The amounts, net price for different countries, the sold quantity, and the net price. Whole stuff that you can do, decide that you can do a pivot table. Pivot table, you can do some analysis, right? Cool stuff. Just choose the basic bar chart, right? Something like this. I have two values here. Quantity is too small. So it means you probably want to choose a different bar chart, right? Different chart type, because you can't put two things together when they have different value units of measurement. Okay, change type. So I'll go with the combo. So with the combo, I can use the quantity as the line and this as the cluster. let's see if we want to this and this. The cluster, then we use this for secondary. Right, about that. So one of it is showing the quantity stored, while this is showing the amount. Cool stuff. If I choose to just put in a slicer here for the date. Okay, was throwing a slicer here. Date, and choose the amount. I have a slider here. Change my property to slider to multiple columns. It's maybe too many. Let's if I select April this, it filter the data. Is it filtering the data? Yep, it's working. It's working, right? Yeah, so very nice thing that you can do with this, honestly. Instead of slider for year, which analyze slider date. And get the year, quarter. Okay, this can work. I choose 2019, third quarter, number, second quarter, first quarter. So anyone you want to slice and analyze your data, you can always do it here. Now, guess what I'm trying to do? I'm just killing time to see what happens here. Okay, this is still not going. Gateway credentials. It says it's connected here. Connected to the gateway, but here okay. Oh, sure. All right. It's working now. All right. All right. So we're good. Now, when I go here now, the same thing that I did, I'm going to run this. Okay. So one of the things that I need to do is go back here, disconnect, connect back. One thing I can do is, let's go back here, right? Do the format deployment again. Let's deploy and see. Now that I have my gateway working, I have the database working, and I'm deploying. It pushes my metadata, then it asks me access to my database, and metadata deployed. It's trying to process. So in the course of processing, there are two things happening. It's looking at the server. It's a server talking to the database. So the credentials for database is to pull the data, right? But now this data needs to sync with the cloud. So is the cloud actually ready to pull this? How is the cloud going to talk to the database? Is by the gateway. Since the gateway has been established, it says, I can now talk to this on-prem database. So let's see how I can pull this information that is being stored on a certain computer somewhere called my server and push it to the cloud so that I can use it and build reports. That's what it's doing now. Okay. So one thing that we can establish first is, did I connect to that? Yes. So now that I've connected, the data is not yet refreshed, but let's see what happens when we try to write an expression like the one we had. So you have not yet processed the data that you're trying to call that. Okay, so again, expression reference a relationship between sales and database, which does not hold any data because it needs to be recalculated. Okay, so let's see what happens here. If this is taking too long, I can kill this and then process in my data. So I'm going to stop this, okay? So what happens, ideally, when you're pushing to the Power BI service, the mode of deployment is usually do not process, because you are saying that I'm going to be passing data across, but what we ideally what we'll do is I will process my database here. So when I go here, I'll click on process database, then I'll choose the full option, script it, and then refresh. So avoid deploying from your Visual Studio. Okay, so this is probably locked now. I'm afraid it probably will time out this as well. So this is talking, you know, and the other guy also is talking. Now, what I can do to make life easy for everyone is to shut this down. Close Visual Studio, because I'm running out of memory anyways. Once I close that, all right. You see my gateway also is working. Seriously hard here, okay. So CPU has dropped down, memory is still 90. I thought I killed this. Well, analysis services server should be working. Let me see. End task. Visual Studio, please, can you allow us? Okay, now that Visual Studio is gone. Okay, perfect. It failed. Let's run it again. This guy is working hard now because we're pulling data across. Yeah, we have kind of so much data here, that's why. One thing I can also do is to deploy piece by piece, but for the first time, it's always good to do the entire model deployment. Okay, but because with this, it would deploy the metadata. It will process the metadata, include the relationships and all the measures. So there are different steps you can do the refresh. You have the at the table level, you can do a table refresh. Okay, let me see what's up. Remote server done bad request. Okay. Okay, let me try this one more time with a smaller table. Let's try date. I'll process this table separately. Okay, the data's gone. I'll change this to customer. And customer is done. I'll go to product. And product's done. I'll go to, and this is customer processing, by the way. Memory. So I think first and foremost, the essential thing has really been covered. I'm hitting my capacity here. Yeah, so let me see. Free up some memory on my computer. That was customer that failed. Let's try product. Yeah, so it's running, of course. Right, I'm gonna go to the gateway server, okay, and see what is happening. So I'm just going to restart the gateway services, okay. Okay, everything's up and running. Okay, just jump started, right? Just restart the gateway and see. Okay, let's do it again. Typically, it should go. So, for example, if I look at this query, you notice that we have the query that I ran before, right? This in Tabular is running. It has data in it now. So let me try this. Evaluate tab and time customer table. Okay. All right. So apparently, in as much as it's giving this hiccup, I think we should be fine. What I'll do is pretty much schedule it so it will take care of it overnight instead of me handling it. So I'll schedule refresh on daily, choose a schedule. Every 6, 7 o'clock. Let me choose something. 11 o'clock a.m. Whatever. If it fails, notify me. Yep. Perfect. So I don't have to worry about this now. All I need to do is this laptop should be available during this time. So, but from all indication, in as much as this is not processing, but the deployment had been done because I can actually see data inside the model coming from the Power BI endpoint. So what do I mean? I mean that if I were to do a DAX expression from this connection, which is the Power BI, I see data. So I'm going to write a query to get sales by store. Evaluate, summarize, store, country, store country. Okay. Then I'll get margin, check my margin, delivery margin. I want that. So, all right. Stop roasted. Oops. All right. Whatever it is, but something's supposed to come from store, right? Could it be store country? Yep. All right. So we have the data. Good. So now I think the other piece is for us to, we can use Excel. Remember this Excel I called the server? How about I choose to call the Power BI. So let me go to this server, by the way, so you see where we are now. On this server, whatever we have inside here, it is actually a model content data and schedule refresh. So you can see everything is set up correctly. So I'm going to call this now in Excel. So from Excel, you can actually do a get data, right, from where Power BI Dataset. So you need to do what? Sign in, right? And where are you? And now I need to sign in Power BI Dataset. I saying I need to sign in here. So am I not signed in? Let me sign in here. So that when I go in, I should be able to see what is inside there. This is not what I'm looking for. Right? He has to sign and do all these things, right? Okay, good. So go now to Dataset. Where pull me the Dataset. So it seems like it's doing something, right? It's getting data. All right. Look at this bad boy right here. It's pulling me everything there, but I want to get the Cotonso. Okay. Too many authentications. I'm connecting now to, this is connected to Power BI Dataset. Meanwhile, this other report is connected to Analysis Services on-prem. So I can do the same thing here, just like I do with the other guy. Okay. I'll use, let me go with the chart. Insert a chart, about map. Oh. I can create map. Insert part here. Oh, hold on. Please select something else. All right. I'm good. Yes. The one. Next products. We have category on the products. So this is coming from the analysis services or the Power BI XMLA endpoint. Okay. And just to understand what that data looks like, if you script this out, you are going to see how the XMLA, so it's extended markup language for analysis services. So this is how it is. So everything that we've done is in the script. All right, so that is awesome. Now, this is Excel. So if you, let's go back and review this. Oh, sure. Guess what? Create pipelines. Bam. So now that we have this stuff already deployed to a service, I'm just going to create a pipeline for different environments. So I'll call the different environments here. So I'll create a new pipeline for Cotonso QA. Cotonso QA. Save. Cotonso Prod. Alright, so this is a prod. So what I'll do now is go my, so this is what typically happens. You've deployed your dev environment, you've done your test and everything. Okay, can you promote it to the QA? Yep. I'll go here now. Create a new pipeline. Just create the pipeline. So deploy. Okay. Create that. Now it's going to ask you, well, choose the deployment state for the workspace. Okay. So this is I want to deploy this, right, to this or this. So the first step is, of course, you have this, right? We're assigning this to the dev, okay? And this is the test, and this is production. So when I'm deploying, I'm going to choose where this has to land, okay? So this test is what the queue, and this test is prod. So when I'm deploying, I have to choose what I'm deploying here. I want to deploy this to where? If you notice what's happening, it's copying one item to this workspace. Okay, let's go there. If I want to deploy to this, I also have to do deploy. Just moving this across. Perfect. So what happens now when you go to your workspaces? Now, in as much as named it, the thing is, the first point when it was, again, I don't necessarily have to create workspaces, because if you notice, those are created automatically, right? So I can delete these workspaces, but this is pretty much the workspaces that we created. So if I click on the test, it takes me to the test environment. But this test, if you look at it, it still has a handicap because it's not connected to the gateway. So you have to choose the gateway and then the data source that you want it to connect to. So I might have this as in my database. I might have multiple databases where one is the production database. So in my server, I might have different databases, right? So I need to point to the right one. But since I have the same, I'm just going to keep it the way it is, and then do the same thing that I did when I was configuring the dev environment. So, but that's as easy as it is when you're doing deployment. So again, when you're doing that, you don't need to create explicit workspaces, because in the course of deployment, you can create it. And once you do that, once you create the first time, that's it. Okay, so that was the deployment part of it. And of course, we've done the reports and stuff like that. So if you want to complain that you didn't do the Power BI, what? To Power BI. So Power BI can connect to, of course, your analysis services on-prem, and it can also connect to your service, right? The Power BI service, the one I've deployed. So I can do a get data, and on the get data, I want to use the dataset, right? PowerBI Dataset, That's it. So this we call it connect to our dataset, and then we have to pull that and reports from. So this is what we want. Now, if you look at it, you have to choose which environment, right? I want to go with the dev, test, or production. So choose the dev, create. It's bringing in the model. Now, the connection that is done is a live connect, right? As you can see, usually you have the view, the report view, the relationship, and the table view. So it's missing here, but we have our model that shows everything that we try to do, right? So the same thing goes here. You're going to create your report. I was trying to get the map that they were complaining. So let's try the map this time around. The map, I saw something like country. There you go. Then I'm going to do my sales. Have you noticed that in Power BI, all these columns are showing summation, but these are not the columns that we need. So ideally, what you'll do is you have to, any column that you've used as a measure, you just have to hide it from showing because it's going to confuse you. So we're going to open this and then get the numbers that we want. Okay, so that is it. Then another cool thing that you want to do is, how about I use the same country as a legend, so you can see different colors, right, for different countries. And it's going to show you across at the top here. Then let's make it a little bit fancy since you don't have information displayed there. Now I want to just put a table here. And again, you're going to narrow the sales to country, sales amount, and maybe you just put a date right now. I put dates if that works. How about put it here? Kind of. Look. Okay. All right. So we did. That's good. I put a year month. Yep. Or an easier way to do it, not necessarily an easier way, but the better way to even analyze these things, right? I'd rather go ahead and say, okay, hey, I'm going to do this and then put this here. Compare among different countries. How about that? If I click this, it just filter and give me all the sales for that particular country, which is United States. Just something around here, like Italy, Germany. Yeah, so again, just play around with it and see what you can do. So this is the Power BI report coming from the Power BI dataset that we created. Okay, the same thing, you can also get data from the on-prem. The thing is, once you've connected to this, of course, you have to go to another report. You can't connect to another data source when you're dealing with the cloud, with the analysis services dataset, Power BI dataset. So, but again, this is what we should be looking at. Now, one last thing that I want to cover, Power BI, we have in the Power BI, we do have the ability to create paginated reports. That's something which a lot of people are not familiar with, but you're going to use, for those who are familiar with SSRS, we have the report builder, right? Power BI report builder. I don't know if I have that. Let's start. There you go. Power BI report builder. So this Power BI report builder is like the traditional build of report builder that we used during the days of SSRS. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep the version around installing anything. But with the report builder, it's similar to the way we do things in SSRS. And even with any other reporting tool, the first thing you try to look at is, do I know where to add my data source? Yes. I'm connecting toward PowerBI Dataset. Connect this. Sign in. So as you're signing in, it's bringing you all the same data sets for you to choose among which one you want to, all right? So I'm going to my dev, and this is it. Here. So it's brought in the data set, the data source, but I need to pull the content to data set. So now this is where you have to write maybe a DAX expression or whatever you need, but I will show you an easier way to do that. I'll call this, let me see, sales data set. If you go to import, okay, not import, I'm sorry. So what have I done? Okay, data source, select this, then design. The design is going to open you like a Power Query environment where you will be allowed to select the things that you want, and at the same time it's building you a query behind the scene, right? So if you look at here, I'm going to be using my traditional DAX, but what I'm going to do is I need some information here. Let's say I want from the date, it's I want to get my date key and drag and drop. Product, I want to get the product category, drag and drop. Store, I want to get the store name, drag and drop. Then let me get my sales. Okay. Sales is coming from this measure. There we go. I'm making my measures, right? I'm just going to dump all of this stuff here. Now, I want you guys to see something interesting. I can execute this, all right, and it's going to bring all of this. Now, this is what this I've just done. Now, you want to see the coolest part of it? Watch. From this, guess what? I can convert this to a query. For that. That's the expression. So you realize that if you don't know how to write an expression in DAX, hint, go to your Power BI report builder, call the columns that you want, and then change the query. And you get it. Interestingly, you see all these things here. If I want to get a filter, I'm also going to put a date. Let's say I want to put a year as my filter, equal to, or begin, no, not begins. I'm going to say equal to, yeah, for example. And I can select the year, 2020. Let's see what happens. So I'm selecting sales for 2020. All right, let's see if this works. 2020. See what happens to the query. There's a where clause, right? So how do we put that in a DAX expression? Filter values year, where the year value is this. Then you continue. So this is an easier way to do stuff. So if I copy this as is and go to my tabular model, I can go in and paste it in my DAX expression and run it. Bingo! Who says DAX is not easy? Who says DAX is not an easy language? Look at the way I've done it. I've just bypassed the complex, like, oh, where do I put this? Where do I put the filter values? But this is an easier way that Microsoft has helped us to be able to convert a basic column to an expression, and that's it. So all I'll do is I'll click OK, and this is going to be part of my data set. You see the expression is going to populate here in the query. You see that? This is just for formality's sake. Okay. Now I have everything here. And the fun part begins, which I don't like designing. If I go here, maybe I want to create header and footers. Put header first, add a header, add a footer. Okay, can reduce the size of the header and the footer if I want to. Oh, I took out the phone. Okay. So I'm writing, I'm gonna do stuff inside here. What do I want? Maybe I want to get just a simple table. Try wizard. No, I don't want a wizard. I want to build it from scratch. Okay. So we go to chart, inside the chart. Then what do I need? Maybe a line chart. Okay. What do I need to put in there? What's going to be my value? I need the sales price, right? What is in the category? I need the category. Category was part of the product, right? I just say category, so that's it. So if you go ahead and run, you are going to see a wonderful report. So my focus is not on reporting, but I just want you to understand that with this tool, you can do so many things, right? So I'm hoping that this is really helpful. So, but for those who are not familiar with reporting services, we used to, in fact, it still exists. It's not like you used to, but you can build your reports. Let me make a simple table instead, right? Is there an option to change chart? Yep. Change chart. Oops. All right. We don't have that fancy behavior in Power BI to just click and change. So I'm going to delete this. The reason why I'm trying to delete this is because I want to show you how to deploy this. I want to just put this basic table. Okay. There you go, matrix. What am I doing? Matrix. Inside the matrix, yeah. What goes to the column? And put categories in the column. What goes to this? This is going to be the store names. Double click store. What goes to the data? Price. Cost. Margin. Now, there are so many things you have to be doing here, right? All those cosmetics. Go here, change the data type, and numbers, and all one of that. So I'm not going to focus more attention into all this, but these are things that we will definitely want to do. These are the cosmetics part of this thing that I'm doing. So, but if you preview, This is what you get. Okay, again, it's up to you. Go yourself. Now from here, let's do one. Okay, so when you click on publish, it's going to ask you which workspace you want to publish this to. So I'm going to go to my same dev, where I have my dev. Change the part. Contoso Paginated Reports. Publish. It's gone. So I can open it now in PowerBI service. And that's it. It's rendering. Bingo. That is the Paginated Reports. With my workspace, I'm going to see both. This Paginated report and this, right? We're also going to lineage. And it tells me that the control source sales is related to this and it's tied to my SQL Server gateway. So that said, this pretty much concludes the training on creating a tabular model in Visual Studio, deploying the model on-prem, migrating to this, creating the pipelines, and using the data sets to create reports in all the different environments. Thank you so much and hope to see you there. Bye.